Hello, everyone. This is the continuation of the NetPoint GPM conference, and I am thrilled to share this panel with two colleagues who I admire very much and have had the opportunity to work with for over a decade. And we're going to talk about the early days of GPM NetPoint through to current times, and also kind of retrace the early days of planning and scheduling as a group. So this is the 6-step critical path getting us through this discussion today. I won't read each one to you, but this is what you can expect. And we're going to kind of take turns on the topics. So and we might jump in on each other too. We've all been working together for a long time. So this is an early picture circa 2008 of Dr. Gee using NetPoint on a touch screen. And really, I mean, there would be no GPM, no LDM, no NetPoint without Dr. Gee and his amazing insights into scheduling and planning. And just, I think one of the ancient Greek philosophers said that all human actions emanate from a thought. And everything you see here is coming from thoughts that Gee had and the amazing team he put together to manifest those thoughts into a reality. So a nod to Dr. Gee at the start of this. You know, PMA, we have 2 PhDs here on the panel, and Dr. Gee, I mean, anytime you're at PMA and you say, is there a doctor in the house? The answer is yes. But unfortunately, the only thing he can help you with is a sick schedule. So the underlying logic, the thinking, the patent applications, all of that started a long time ago. But now we've generated all these new ideas and created new software and had new insights. We learn so much when we create the software based on the ideas, and then see, just for instance, we didn't really understand that the new GPM algorithm was going to allow you to see float left of the data date. That was a revelation to us, and it had huge implications for forensic analysis of schedules. I'll introduce myself first, and then we'll move on to the other panelists. I'm Tim Mather. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of PMA Tech. Been privileged to be with PMA and working with Dr. Gee for about 20 years now. And we have seen amazing growth in the organization as a whole, and in the PMA Technologies part of the organization as well. And just really love my time with all these great interactive minds and hard workers.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vivek Puri, and I'm based out of our Phoenix office. I am the development lead here at PMA, and I'm also involved with developing and managing our intellectual property. I've worked with the development of NetPoint, NetRisk, and ScheduleMD, the 3 tools that we talk about. And I'm continued to be amazed about what a great team can do for you.
I'm Liang Liu. I hope I'm not muted yet. So again, I'm very proud to be a member of the development team and to work with wonderful minds. It was the best sabbatical time I have spent to create and to innovate with the PMA team. And that's back in 2000.
Remind me, how did you meet Dr. Gee?
I was a student and the research and teaching assistant under Gee while I was getting my doctoral degree at University of Michigan.
Wow.
But later on, I became faculty member myself for about 30 years, teaching at University of Illinois, which I'm still teaching after my retirement. So,
okay, it sounds like you're getting some rubbing on a microphone or something. We're getting a little bit of a rattle here, so.
okay, can you hear me okay now?
What's that?
Is the sound okay right now?
It is, although
sure.
we had something where there was something rubbing against your microphone, so I'm not sure what that was, but let's keep an eye on that.
Perfect.
Okay, so we wanted to talk about kind of where we're coming from to get to where we are today. You know, the art of planning and scheduling has it's had a few big evolutions over time. I mean, you think about the projects through antiquity that were just so amazing, the aqueducts and the pyramids and things like that. And they didn't have the advantage of computerized scheduling or even, as far as we know, even critical path scheduling or these kind of ADM methods of laying things out. So early on with Gantt charts, they were trying to lay out kind of how is the work going to proceed? What depends on something else? How long is it going to take? And that was a graphical way of approaching that. Then later, someone added logic to it. And then we have the advent of critical path method in the 1950s. So all these are evolving, changing ways of thinking about planning and scheduling and enabling projects to be more predictable. And in 2008, we released the first LDM system in the world, the logic diagram method. And that has changed a lot of people's lives here at PMA, and also I think in the world. We have folks using LDM, GPM, NetPoint all around the world. Probably the sun never sets on the GPM empire, I would think. So if you go through the history here, you're looking way back in the 1910s. Henry Gantt created his charts to help production scheduling and in a job shop environment. And then, you know, job shop scheduling is a very particular type of scheduling. Routing work through a job shop is what they call an NP complete problem, where it scales up really quickly and gets very difficult to schedule if you have more than just a few machines and a few different jobs running through the shop. And I think the advent of some of the new computing technologies like quantum probably will help resolve some of those things, but we'll see. You know, in 1956, they started using Gantt charts for the construction of the massive interstate highway systems. Gantt charts survive today in CPM, and they're used in CPM schedules and as kind of a standard way of looking at scheduling for schedulers. They are sometimes harder for non-schedulers to read. And Patrick Weaver, who's a friend of PMA's and a great writer and thinker from down under, he wrote an interesting article where he kind of pointed out that maybe Henry Gantt did not invent the Gantt chart. So that was a pretty interesting change in life. Leon?
Thank you, Tim, for the great overview. I would just highlight a few events as early as 1885 to look into Frederick Taylor's pioneer on scientific management movement at that time. And of course, 1917, we have Gantt chart is subject to further investigation whether Gantt chart was invented by Gantt, Henry Gantt. So we will find out that the demand for planning, scheduling, to have an intuitive tool to understand exactly what's going on in the project, but at the same time to be able to have all the information together. So in the next slide, move on to 1941, we're seeing more and more researchers coming up with new ideas, typically from operations research area that enrich so much about the mathematical modeling and algorithm within CPM scheduling domain. But we're also seeing more practitioners engaging in new concept, new ideas. Military took on that. And for example, in Navy for the milestone planning method. And later on with Kelly and Walker from Rand and DuPont Corporation. And they really took CPM into a level that established the fundamental algorithm and also mathematical models that underline or underpin CPM program today. But 1958, with all this concept and different ideas about planning with a PERT, Tim has a wonderful personal story to share with us.
It's true. Thanks, Liang. My grandpa, Mather, was a Navy officer in World War II and an engineer, and he worked on the Polaris submarine missile program.
Okay, after that wonderful story, we'll move on to 1997. Some of you wonder what's going on in between. I think I personally lived through, I think I'm old enough to see this area of high power database centric. And I think we all started from P3, Primavera to all different kinds of systems. But a lot of time we created a lot of number cruncher, but we did not train a lot of good planner, because the essence and spirit, later I will explain, I think Vivek will pick up on that as well, is that planners looking into relationship, and we need all this information dynamically coming together as a team. And when you have a complex system such as the database, putting 10,000 activities with hard-coded schedule and date, then we lost that essence of dynamic element. As Tim and Vivek in the morning in the training session talking about intelligent canvas, smart object interacting in real time with the user. So in 2008, and of course, the wonderful teamwork within PMA to unveil. So Guy, the concept development and LDM with GPM and NetPoint all came together. So if you think about the development in NetPoint and GPM, in the next slide, I would just highlight this key element of NetPoint and GPM spirit, is that it allows you to really look into your schedule, to interact with intelligent object. And at the same time, from the development team, we decided to use C++ and object-oriented programming. And that really paid the foundation for the innovation, and later it got the patent later on. However, if you look at the overall, the execution of the team and the effort in developing GPM and NetPoint, is that it allows the user to articulate their information, at the same time contribute to the team's effort. And as a teacher of construction management for 30 years, I told my students, planning is hardly an individual sport. That means you need to rely on others in terms of decision-making, resources, productivity, and their changes as well. So having that intelligent canvas that Tim and Vivek mentioned this morning, at the same time to engage multiple participants, as demonstrated in Gino and Deborah's demonstration and projects in the data warehousing, we have multiple people, owners, and everybody working together. And having this system, GPM, that with underlying algorithm, that allowed us to become a better scheduling system with the underlying algorithm in slide 16. So in this slide, you're seeing a GPM program that allows to build upon the CPM schedule. However, we'll be able to add multiple algorithms by enriching the algorithm with practitioners' thought, their ideas. So when Sevi and Sergio were talking about the next platform, many of the thoughts was ingrained. And at the same time, when I work with the PMA team, we have so many practitioners working with us. Even in Boston, that Tim and I and Guy, we demonstrated to a group of union foremen. And that was a light, sort of an eye-opening experience for practitioner myself, and also who understand the future of CPM and GPM in the future. So in slide 17, what we're going to see is a different approach. It's a graphical method. However, because of the object-oriented design, and that's really the key in developing NetPoint, is that we'll be able to add intelligence. So whenever the practitioner gave us that idea, say, this is doable. This is not a database with awkward front end and back end as afterthought. This is built from ground up from the interactive graphic. So the contrast between CPM and GPM in slide 18 it really contrasts and confirms. I think Dr. Gee and Dr. Vivek Puri confirm and verify that having a object-oriented and then with the practitioner-based algorithm-rich GPM allowed us really to confirm and even to highlight and confirm the statistical sampling using the as-built schedule. So we can be closer to real life and real-time planning. So in slide 19 in 2018, a very critical comment was made: the new process, GPM, better facilitate planning and scheduling. And the key words I want you to learn or to understand is really the collaboration, that it allowed you to have a group of constituents and stakeholders as described by Gino and Deborah. Then you can create schedule collaboratively. So that brings to my last slide, last two slides, highlighting before I conclude my segment is that the core innovation in GPM and NetPoint is to really integrate three components: interactive graphics, planning networking algorithm, typically from practitioners, and also object-oriented programming. We use polymorphism, inheritance, and message passing. So all the system that you saw on slide 21, that you push and pull, and when Tim moved the object during the training session, behind the scene, each object is interacting, including the windows. And Sevi and Sergio's work built on top of that. So we expect to see many exciting and new performances that we're going to see in the new platform. So in slide 21, that we're going to see it's really the full circle since the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and then move up to back to 60s constituent. That means your schedule must be fully understood by constituent. Your stakeholders can interact with their schedule anytime, and the intelligent canvas and the object can continue to develop, to be added with new feature, new concept, new algorithm, new intelligence, and that Sevi and Sergio talked about. So this full cycle that I witnessed personally, and also the future of development team and their innovation will be highlighted further, starting from Vivek.
Thank you, Dr. Liu and Tim, for taking us through the histories of scheduling methods, Gantt charts, and CPM. Okay, so now let me take you through the history of GPM within PMA and the development of the three tools, NetPoint, NetRisk, and ScheduleMD. If we think back for one seminal event that led us to this path that we are currently on, I would say it would be the publishing of this article in ENR in May 2003, wherein four scheduling experts discussed how the state of scheduling tools had gone off the rails and it was affecting the planning and performance of projects. So Dr. Gee and Tim took that article pretty seriously and decided to take the road less traveled and do something about improving the status quo. And this basically initiated within PMA a cascade of innovations that would follow for years to come. So by 2004, our research and development into this next generation tool for scheduling had already started within internally at PMA. And the tool was being designed to be graphical and intuitive interface for collaborative scheduling and schedule development. And this is the tool that would later be known as NetPoint. By 2006, GPM algorithms were already developed with lots of research going in and inputs from all the experienced schedulers within PMA itself, and it was disclosed for the first time. In 2007, the research further matured and PMA filed its first patent on the most fundamental algorithms of GPM. 2008 came with more innovations and improvements in NetPoint, such as the self-healing algorithm. This was also the year when NetPoint was first revealed by Dr. Gee at Project Management College of Scheduling conference in Chicago. And GPM also received a favorable peer review from Jim O'Brien, where he said, to me, the loss of the logic diagram has been the unrecognized tragedy in the evolution of CPM scheduling, and your GPM brings it back full circle. By this time, NetPoint was also being used within PMA by our consultants. And in October 2008, PMA sold its first ever license of NetPoint to Gilbane. And as the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So in 2009, Dr. Gee introduced the concept of forensic floats, another innovation underlying on GPM algorithms at the Project Management College of Scheduling conference in Boston. And excuse me, a top 20 contractor in ENR top 400 contractors list purchased 12 licenses of NetPoint. That was at the time the biggest order of NetPoint licenses that PMA had received. In 2010, NetPoint was also cited for providing superior graphics for managing a project in the must-read scheduling book, CPM and Construction Management by O'Brien and PATHNG. And in 2011, PMA introduced NetPoint version 4 at our first ever NetPoint user conference in Orlando, Florida. And then came around 2012, a year very important in my life as I graduated my doctoral program at Purdue and joined the NetPoint team. But even more exciting for 2012 was the month of August when PMA was awarded its first patent for GPM algorithms.
I can tell you there were quite a few people around PMA who were wondering if that was ever going to come out. I mean, we had filed that patent application so long ago, and it was quite a red letter day for us, for sure.
Yeah, 4 years in the making. So continuing on, in 2013, PMA also introduced NetRisk version 1, another innovative tool at the third NetPoint user conference. And at that moment, NetRisk became the first and only risk assessment tool to use GPM algorithms and the ability to model floating and pacing delays in your risk models. In 2014, PMA was awarded its fourth patent on GPM algorithms. So in a matter of 3 years, 4 patents on GPM algorithms. And then in April of 2014, a top 10 EPC contractor purchased 37th license of NetPoint. PMA continued on the innovation front by introducing AutoGraph that year, a constraint-based layout authoring method within NetPoint to make it easier for our users to import schedules from other tools, other scheduling applications.
I think that's a great point, you know, and thinking again about all the practitioners, we typically work with contractor schedules or schedules developed in other tools. And when you bring those schedules into NetPoint, they need to be arranged and color-coded, and that used to be a completely manual process. And I can tell you, I can still feel my hand being sore from working the mouse over and over to get things put in place. And Dr. Vivek, I think you were the person who cracked this nut, right? In terms of how to sort things out and the link chain and all that.
Yeah, I was definitely part of that team, but definitely it was a much bigger team effort to kind of get that entire process in place, the algorithm just right, the inputs to take, and lots of other things to consider in there. Okay. And then in 2015, PM introduced NetPoint version 5 at the NetPoint and GPM user conference in San Diego. It included even more innovations, but that was more a release which was more focused on improvements that were most requested by our users, and that has been the trend ever since. Means PMA relies on the users to kind of help guide us in the direction they really want us to go, guiding the innovations, the improvements that are really needed on the scheduling end of things.
And they're not shy about it either.
Oh, sure. In 2017, PMA introduced Schedule MD, another innovative quantitative schedule reliability assessment tool, which was based on the core traits of a reliable schedule protocol. The protocol was developed within PMA again, wherein over 20 experienced schedulers from within PMA spent thousands of hours to actually come up with the DNA of reliable schedules. What really makes a schedule reliable and something that you should always look for. Then comes the near years, the year 2020, which will forever be remembered. And so NetRisk version 3 was rewritten and released last year at the user conference. It brought in even more innovative concepts of floating scheduling, safe float, and other aspects of it. We are currently in 2021 are working on the next generation planning and scheduling platform that was revealed by Sevi and Sergio earlier today. And coming for the future, like Sevi and Sergio paved the direction of where we are going, where we are taking this next generation tool. And to add to it, we are continuing to evolve and innovate into this field of artificial intelligence, which we believe can certainly help solve key problems, which until now have been very difficult to resolve. So each cycle of NetPoint kind of development is based on and directed towards our practitioners. The requests come in from practitioners. The team works with practitioners to develop innovative algorithms and improve upon the interfaces and everything. We ask for inputs and feedback from our practitioners to kind of guide and improve our tools. And in turn, we believe our tools add value to what our practitioners do and help them achieve their goals in a simpler manner or an easier way.
And sometimes the suggestions from the practitioners are suggestions bordering on demands.
Yeah.